What's going on, Guardians? Today I have an absolutely insane build to show you. This Arc Hunter can not only compete with some of the strongest setups, but is also ridiculously easy to use, has crazy super regeneration, and it will let you handle in-game content with ease. Whether you're tackling dungeons, GMs, or anything in between, this build is perfect. So let's break it down. Now we got to talk about the super. We're going with Arc Staff. Not only can you use this defensively by blocking and reflecting projectiles, but with the right exotic, you are going to have so much fun with this build. And that exotic is Raiden Flux. Now, I know what you're thinking. Raiden Flux in 2025, trust me, it's insane. Thanks to its perk, Synapse Junction, every quick successive hit you land increases its duration and its damage. Whether it's a group of ads, champions, or bosses, you just keep swinging and it keeps going. It's simple as that. I even used this build just to test out the Start of Prophecy dungeon solo, and I was able to solo the first boss easily by myself. That is how good this is. Now, breaking down the class abilities, we're going with Gambler's Dodge, so every time we dodge near an enemy, we automatically get our melee back. It pairs beautifully with the rest of this build. For the jump, my go-to is Strafe. However, I find myself falling a lot, so triple jump would actually be super helpful. Melee, we want to go with Combination Blow. This thing is huge. Every kill gives you increased melee damage, which stacks up to 3 times. And when you get a kill with it, it can refund your class ability. Basically, dodge, punch, repeat. And if you miss, don't get the kill, you dodge near an enemy, you automatically get Combination Blow back. It's fantastic. Grenade-wise, it's totally up to you. I like using Flashbang for unstoppables. However, Pulse Grenade is probably the better out of just sheer damage. So at the end of the day, find a grenade that works for you and pick that. Now for the aspects, we're tossing on Lethal Current since we want to be dodging near enemies. Every time we do that, our next melee lunges further, creates a shockwave, and can blind targets, which will stun overloads and unstoppables. Plus, it can kill ads with that lightning bolt, which is super fantastic. And then there's Flow State, so when we defeat a jolted enemy, this will make us amplified. Staying amplified is fantastic for this entire build, plus it gives you that 15% reduction to damage. However, if you don't want to go with Flow State, you can always use Tempest Strike. It's fun, but it kind of negates a lot of that Lethal Current Combination Blow. And then there's Ascension for ease of use, jolting targets as well as making yourself amplified. However, I know not a lot of people want to use Ascension all the time, so Flow State is perfect for this setup. Now, for the fragments, we are going with Spark of Discharge. Arc weapon kills will create an Ionic Trace, meaning faster super regen, because Ionic Traces now give us 7% super energy back. Then there's Spark of Ion. So jolted enemies spawn Ionic Traces, which again, super fantastic for that super regen. And then there's Spark of Amplitude, so rapid kills while we're amplified can help create an Orb of Power, meaning off one kill, you can get 2 Orbs of Power. It is fantastic for Orb regen. Then there's Spark of Beacon, so amplified special heavy weapon kills will cause a blinding explosion that is just utterly fantastic for just survivability sake. Plus you can stun unstops with it. Can't go wrong. You can always use Spark of Shock or Spark of Magnitude, depending on really your preference, but that's the fragments that I opted to go with and I found the most success with. Now for the loadout, you do not need to run a double special. I prefer double special personally, and I'll show you how it works for me and how I build into that. But I'll give you some options if you do not want to run double special. First up with our kinetic slot, we are going with the Rake Angle Glaive with Chill Clip. Reason I wanted to use a glaive for this build is it synergizes well with some artifact perks. Glaives are great for survivability when you block with them. Plus, you can stun unstops with it, and it has Chill Clip, so you can stun overloads as well. And its origin trait, Stunning Recovery, fantastic. You stun a champion, it automatically reloads your glaive, plus you can get healing from it, and it will boost your recovery for a short duration. For the energy weapon, we opted to go with Indebted Kindness with Volt Shot. Basically, how this works is you shoot, you reload, you get Volt Shot, and then you shoot again. That can jolt enemies, and you can help create Ionic Traces with that. If you do not want to run a double special loadout, some alternatives you have are the Ikelos SMG with Volt Shot, Prosecutor, or honestly, anything else that has Volt Shot or Jolting Feedback. Out of the two, I would prefer Jolting Feedback because it's easier to proc. You don't need a kill and a reload to do it. And Jolting Feedback is just fantastic in this meta. Then for our heavy weapon, we're going with none other than Thunderlord. This has fantastic synergy. It chains lightning, melts enemies, and it gets better because of Feeding Frenzy and those lightning rounds, and further building into our Ionic Trace setup to get our super back faster. Now for the artifact perks, let's take a quick look and see how we're going to make this build shine. We've got piercing sidearm and unstoppable glaive to handle at champions. We've got overclock and loaded, so while we're amplified or we have bolt charge, our arc weapons gain increased reload and handling. Then there's hold the line, so when we're surrounded, our machine gun and our glaive will have increased reload speed and stability, plus those final blows will heal us. Then it's a heavy arc build. We want to be running dielectric, so defeating an arc debuff target will grant us bolt charge. Then if you're building into special, there's dreadful finisher. So every time you defeat a powerful combatant with a finisher, it's going to spawn special ammo for you and your allies, plus subjugators, tormentors, and champions spawn more ammo. And then there's flashover, so when you gain max bolt charge, you also become amplified and your lightning bolts will deal more damage. Then since we are using a glaive, we want to toss on no bell. This will allow us to generate special ammo just by getting rapid melee kills with the glaive. And then blocking, it increases the melee damage to targets. So you really can't go wrong if you're in a pinch. You block with your glaive, kill those red bar ads, and then you'll have increased ammo for the glaive, meaning you don't need to worry too much about your glaive ammo regeneration because of no bell. And of course, we want to be using defibrillating blast when we are doing in-game content that has champions. So you start a champion, you automatically get max stacks of bolt charge, which will also trigger an arc bolt that heals you and jolts nearby combatants. Then to further build into the insane damage of our super that Radiant Flux also helps with, we're going with limit break. So when we cast a super, when we're either critically wounded or when we have amplified, it is going to grant us a period of increased super damage, meaning you pair that with your Radiant Flux, you're just going to be doing some insane damage with it. And lastly, of course, let's go over our armor mods that just help synergize extremely well to the rest of the build. We're running a special ammo finder to increase the drop chance of special ammo, dynamo, so it's going to reduce our super cooldown when we use that class ability near enemies. Then an siphon or harmonic siphon, so rapid arc final blows will create an orb of power. Then for the gauntlets, we're tossing on heavy-handed, so when we get a powered melee kill, it will create that orb of power. Then there's harmonic loader, so it increases the reload speed of our indebted kindness or our arc weapon, as well as our thunderlord. And then of course, impact induction, so when we cause damage with our powered melee, it will reduce our grenade cooldown. However, you could also run something like focusing strike, so grants class ability when you cause damage with a powered melee, or you could run momentum transfer, so when you cause damage with a grenade, it reduces your melee cooldown. Either one of those will work really well. You could also do heavy-handed again, double stack it on there just to make that cooldown shorter. Then for our chest piece, normally we run 3 resistance mods to go into whatever activity doing. However, on this one, we're just going to run 2 and then a harmonic reserves to increase the ammo we have for our arc weapons. If you're not running double special, just toss on 3 resistance mods and you're going to be perfectly fine. For the legs, we're tossing on an arc scavenger to pick up extra bonus reserved ammo when we pick up a special brick or a heavy brick. And then there's absolution to reduce all ability cooldowns when we pick up on more of power. And finally, for the class ability, we're going with Reaper. So our next weapon final blow after we use our class ability will spawn an orb of power, then special ammo finisher. So when we have 3 armor charges and use our finisher, it'll generate special ammo for the whole fire team. And of course, proximity ward, so we gain a powerful overshield when we use our finisher. Just makes it easier in tight situations to pop that finisher and have little to no health, and then you have an immediate overshield from it. Just helps aid in that survivability. But there you have it, Guardians, an insane pure arc hunter build that is just fantastic for any type of activity you want to be doing, unless the boss is super far away, of course. Use Gathering Storm. However, if you enjoyed this build or if you've used it before, feel free to drop a comment down below, as well as leave a like if you enjoyed it. And of course, if you're new, feel free to subscribe. Always appreciate the support. But as always, thank you all so much for coming and watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.